that category with global warming?
Anyone would fall into that category. That's the problem. They can put anyone under, whether left, whether right, whether upside down, doesn't matter. Put anyone under this category. What else? This is from a report called Police Discussed Counterterrorism at the White House. They brought together 2,000 police chiefs from across the country to discuss counterterrorism at the White House. Here's what they came up with. People likely to commit violence speak against the government. Where have we seen that before? Russian Penal Code, 38. People likely to commit violence, or it condemns people who speak against the government, throws them in prison. Sends them to either a prison term or exile. They blame the government for their perceived problems. So number one, you have no problems, they're on your head, you live a perfect life. Number two, if you blame the government for any of those non-existent problems, you're a suspected terrorist. These are the police chiefs of your country. This is not, some random people getting around in a room together. I don't know. We'll see. Unusual or extreme actions that catch the attention of others. Anything. Active online to show extreme views / connect with others. Grammar is important in law. / is or. Anyone ever sent an email? Only half the room's ever sent an email? Anyone ever sent an email? Alright, you've connected with another person online. In fact, the military assumes if you're not connecting with any people online, you're a suspected terrorist. That was another one of their reports. So you're screwed either way. So, the final report that I don't have up here just yet is called Challengers from the Sidelines, Understanding the Radical Right, published by West Point Center for Counterterrorism. It lists anti-federalists as possible terrorists. Now, anti-federalist is not a word you see often. There's not an anti-federalist coffee party tomorrow. There's not an anti-federalist club meeting. Anti-federalist is only used when you're talking about your Constitution and talking about your Bill of Rights, because the anti-federalists required a Bill of Rights in the Constitution before they would ratify it. They're listing anti-federalists specifically as possible terrorists. So, indefinite detention is the punishment for not understanding NDAA. Custody pending disposition under the law of war. Except as provided in paragraph 4, the armed forces of the United States shall hold a person described in paragraph 2, which we just read through, who captured in the course of hostilities authorized by the AUMF in military custody pending disposition under the law of war. This is not your local police coming to your door. This is not your sheriff coming to your door. This is America's armed forces detaining you as a prisoner of war without all the protections a prisoner of war gets because of the category you're in as a belligerent. This is the military detaining you. So do we really want to give the president that kind of power? I mean, what has he done with the power he's been given so far? What has Congress done with the power they've given so far, regardless of which party you're with? What have they been done with that power? Power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. So does it undermine your constitutional rights? Yes. There's a short list on the pamphlet, there's a short list here. This is just a short list. In Oklahoma, we just counted. Between the Oklahoma and U.S. constitutions, it violates 25 provisions. Article 1, Section 9, Suspension Clause, cannot suspend habeas corpus without Congress explicitly saying so. Yet it just ignores habeas corpus. Article 3, Section 2, Grand Jury Indictment. If you will not get a trial, you will not get a grand jury. Article 3, Section 3, Treason. This is interesting. Treason shall only exist in levying war against them or in giving comfort, aid and comfort to their enemies. Them is us. Them is we the people. By Congress applying the laws of war to American soil and declaring us the enemy, they declared war on us. And thereby violating the Treason Clause, since they should be hauled in court to testify on treason. First Amendment, free speech. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Several documents list those who buy weatherproof ammunition or own multiple weapons as terrorists. Fourth Amendment, secure in persons and papers. Obviously, if they're taking you, you're not securing your persons and papers. Fifth Amendment, due process. Sixth Amendment, speedy trial. Neither of those you will get if you do not get a trial. Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. We'll get into that in a second. 14th Amendment, right to due process. You will not get a right to due process. You will not get any trial. You will not get your 14th Amendment rights. So even though the NDAA directly violates at least 6 amendments of the Bill of Rights, that's not the most dangerous part of this law. Pay attention very, very closely. The most dangerous part of the 2012 NDAA is hidden in that requirement to detain. Look at it again and highlight a different part. The Armed Forces of the United States shall hold a person described in paragraph 2 who's captured in the course of hostilities authorized by the AUMF, otherwise known as the hold a person we just talked about who is captured during the War on Terror, which has no end date, in military custody pending disposition under the law of war. Other way. The law of war governs what countries can and cannot do during wartime. Usually it's international law. However, when it's been applied on American soil, it's been applied twice, nationally, on American soil. Once was during the Civil War. Proclamation 94, issued by President Abraham Lincoln, suspended habeas corpus, but it did more than that. And most people talk about suspension of habeas corpus and all that such, and that's what the order was named. But the most dangerous part about that order is to say anyone disloyal to the northern government will be put in military custody under military jurisdiction. We detained 15,000 northerners and executed several of them, which later the Supreme Court condemned. The second time the law of war was activated on American soil was Executive Order 9066, signed into law by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Nothing in this order says anything about detention. It says the Secretary of War will be given the authority to feed and clothe people after the military has been given jurisdiction over certain areas of the country. The military was given jurisdiction over the coastal areas, and we detained 120,000 Japanese Americans, which the Supreme Court then approved of, and we today see as a moral travesty. Those are the last 2 times the law of war has been applied on American soil. Now we have the 2012 NDAA. Now there's an option. They don't have to do this to you. They can. They don't have to, which makes it even more dangerous, because now there's no hard and set line where they must detain you militarily. They can choose whether they want to or not. It's a 2-track court system. There are many countries famous for the 2-track court system. One of them was Nazi Germany. You were taken in, and the police officer's like, well, you broke this law, and et cetera, or you were Jewish, and we're taking you in. And his commanding officer likes you, you would get all your German constitutional rights. But if the commanding officer didn't like you, end up in a concentration camp or end up in a military trial. So what are some of the things included in? Now note, they don't make up the whole thing, but they're included in disposition under the law of war. Detention under the law of war without trial until the end of hostilities authorized by the AUMF, the War on Terror. Trial under Chapter 47A of Title 10, USC, as amended by the Military Commissions Act. Trial in front of a military court, a military commission. Not only in the United States have military commissions only convicted 6 terrorists compared to over 400 in civilian court, but the last few times we've tried people in front of military commissions who are American citizens, they were detained or executed. To my knowledge, there have been very, very few trials among military commissions where an American citizen was proven innocent, who was not in the military. Transfer for trial by an alternative court or competent tribunal having lawful jurisdiction anywhere. Any tribunal that claims lawful jurisdiction over you, you can be transferred to. Military Commissions Act says military commissions have the authority to determine their own jurisdiction, wherever they want. Military Commission in Florida wants to take you down there, you can determine its jurisdiction is in Ohio, according to the Military Commissions Act. Transfer to the custody or control of the person's country of origin, any other foreign country, or any other foreign entity. They can transfer you to whoever they want, whenever they want, wherever they want. I'd rather be detained by the US military than the Pakistani military. I think they treat me at least a little bit better. Yet, they can deport you. It's called rendition. They can take you anywhere. It's how it violates cruel and unusual punishment. They can take you anywhere and put you anywhere and put you under anyone's jurisdiction. Want to try you in the UN International Criminal Court? They can do that under NDAA. So they've taken the US Constitution, what's the supreme law of the land, and they've replaced it, or allowed it to be replaced from time to time with the law of war. Now, where do we use the law of war recently? Is anyone familiar with Anwar al-Awlaki? Okay. He was a U.S. citizen from Colorado, suspected of terrorism, never proven. Suspected of called a traitor, but never brought to court under the treason clause. And the reason they suspected of terrorism, he'd exchanged emails before he would shoot her. That was their biggest reason they quoted. Regardless of the reasoning, he was not brought to trial, he was not proven that he was or was not. They executed him with a drone strike. 2 weeks later, his 16-year-old son, Abdurrahman al-Awlaki, was executed with another drone strike, with no evidence whatsoever. They didn't even pretend for that one. When Eric Holder went to Georgetown University or George Washington University and defended their actions, he defended their actions under the law of war. Anyone know your new Department of Homeland Security chief? Jed Johnson? He's the guy who was the Department of Defense's lawyer who wrote up that memo. So the head of Homeland Security justified killing not one, but 2 American citizens. And Eric Holder released a letter during all the hubbub about the filibuster on the drones. Eric Holder released a letter saying, oh, by the way, we killed 2 more. So however many American citizens they've killed abroad, or even here in the United States, we don't know. The guy who now runs Homeland Security wrote up the legal justification for those.
What's his name again?
Jed Johnson? Yes, J-E-H Johnson, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Excuse me. I was reading about him and it said that he's called Jay, like J-E-H, but it never gave his real nationality or his real name. Is there more to that?
I'm not sure. I'll take most questions in the Q&A portion, so I can just kind of finish this up. But I'm not particularly sure as far as that's concerned. I couldn't tell you. Anyway, so that is the 2012 NDAA. Something I've always criticized alternative media for, and something I've always criticized a lot of radio show hosts for, and etc., is they provide the problem. Now you see how big the problem is. You see what kind of a dangerous law was passed in the United States, and what kind of dangerous law we have to fight. But they never provide a solution. They scare you with the problem, oh, go hide, build yourself a bunker, dive underground. They never provide a solution for this. So, we at Panda have been working on a lot of things for a while. And we started as a centralized organization. I didn't see any way around it. You had to have structure. I didn't see a way to decentralize it. And I ran into a guy down when I was at Libertopia in San Diego, California. And he said that, so you're going to use a bigger collective to fight their collective, and collectively you're going to fight collectivism. And it got me thinking. So we have, over the past 2.5 months, developed a campaign that's actually launching on Monday, so you guys are getting the beta preview, just like Westlake did a few weeks ago. We've been developing what we call the Take Back the Town campaign. Now, what does Albany, New York, Oxford, Massachusetts, and Webster, Massachusetts have in common? They have all permanently blocked NDAA indefinite detention in their city, including using the Constitution to require the police department to interpose, not stand down, but interpose to protect the rights of the citizens, as they should be doing anyway. These 3 cities have done so. Albany, New York, October 7th, Oxford, Massachusetts, October 9th, Webster, Massachusetts, the 21st. So very, very recent. So we've launched the Take Back the Town campaign. Now what this is, we used to bring people into our organization, and join up this organization, join up with us, and we used to train them up and send them out. The problem with that becomes, as your organization gets bigger, you need bureaucracy. You cannot handle 75 chapters by yourself. It's impossible. So you put more levels in, and more levels in, the organization gets slower, and things grind to essentially a screeching halt at one point. And so what we decided with the Take Back the Town campaign, and if you guys are taking notes, I'd like you guys to write this down. It's pandaunite.org/takeback. It's right here, pandaunite.org/takeback, or just Google Panda Take Back. Now what this is, we put together a packet called the Take Back Packet, ever so original. And it has all the materials anyone needs to fight the NDA and stop it in their city, and stop it in their county. We provide you with support. You want go for us for help? We've got a list of emails. You can help us out. We can help you out, help you in your city, help you in your county. However, this packet allows real revolution to start, because revolutions have a core group of people, a core group of organizations in the middle, but they have spontaneous action all around. There wasn't a couple organizations in Egypt that got 7 million people to protest in the streets. That was spontaneous. There's a couple of organizations who provided the tools to do so, but it's spontaneous action afterward. And that's what needs to happen here. So, since launching this campaign, this beta campaign, we've had over 100 people sign up to take back their town. So over 100 towns across the country they're starting to take back that city, to start to take back that county. And this packet provides everything you need. We have the actual language of the bill. We have instructions on how to tackle it. We have a resolution that between the Patriot Coalition and Panda, we put together about 1,500 hours or so, making sure we got this right, reading the international laws of war, which is the boring thing on the planet. But we put together this resolution for you, and what we do is you pass that in your city, you pass that in your county, get your county commissioners to acknowledge that this is unconstitutional and therefore unlawful. And then take that to your police officers, take that to your sheriff. This is now the resolution in this county. The Constitution is the law of the land, and it overrides the law of war. We need you to enforce that. And then finally, we set up what's called a rapid response team. All they are is a group of citizens like yourself that is keeping an eye out. And you see an FBI raid on someone's house, see a CIA raid on someone's house, see the military come raid someone's house, call up your local police department and go, hey, what was the constitutional justification for that? You got a resolution to back you up. You're not just tossing out random things. You got a resolution voted on by your local government to back you up. Just call them up and say, what was the justification for that? And that way you keep pressure on your local police department. And if they refuse to give you justification, you show up in force in the next city council meeting. You want to scare the pants off of your city councilman? Have 100 people show up after he violates his oath. Now scare the pants off of him. And so this three-step process is what we follow with the Take Back campaign. Learn, build, act. First of all, learn about the NDAA, learn about your local government. Second of all, build. Reach out to other groups. This is not a right issue. This is not a left issue. The first group to protest NDAA was Occupy Wall Street in the Grand Central Station, the minute after it passed. The next groups to protest NDAA were a joint Occupy and Tea Party protest in Worcester, Massachusetts. So this is not a left issue, not a right issue. This is an anti-partisan issue, as it should be, because your rights are anti-partisan. And so build, reach out to other coalitions, reach out to people in your area, reach out to your county officials, and then act. Stand up in front of your county officials and say, this is the Constitution, this is the law of the land, the NDAA is not. Honor your oath, pass this resolution, prohibits the law of war, says it's unconstitutional, act the law of war here. And stop this from happening in our county, in our city. It's not that hard. You're never asked to do this very often, but your first job is to protect our rights. Your first job is to protect our liberty. And then act. Then you take it to your county commission, you meet with them, you stand in front of public comment. People all across the country who stood in front of public comment, their county commission and city council, and inform their discretion at the very least. And then pass a resolution, carry on with the next few steps. So, remember, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. I'm not in this to take words off of a piece of paper. I'm not in this to repeal a law. I'm not in this to even fight a law. I'm in this because the actions behind this law should never be applied in America. You are innocent until proven guilty, period. It's been the standard. The Founding Fathers said they would rather 1,000 guilty men go free than one innocent man be punished. That's the standard in our country. And the next generation, they didn't deserve this. I want to be able to look in the eye of a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, and I want to be able to tell someone who hasn't lost their innocence yet, someone who believes in a world that we've created for them. And I want to be able to look in their eye and I want to be able to tell them you're free. I can't do that today. So that's why I'm out here. That's why I go as many places they'll allow me in. That's why I go all around the country doing this. I was in Coos County, Oregon recently. And a lady came up. She was ran the local progressive newspaper, and she was one of the speakers at our rally. And she came up and she said, "You know, my son was in Iraq, and he came home. He was injured." And she read the poem of the Unknown Soldier. And if the unknown soldier came back today, would he see that what he fought for was worth it? If the unknown soldier came back to America today, he would say it was the exact same people he fought in Europe. He would see the exact same regime. And that's what we need to fight, because over 1 million men and women gave their lifeblood on foreign soil to protect my liberty, your liberty, and your children and grandchildren's liberty. And to me, at least, if I do not take action, I'm spitting on their grave. And that's why we need to take back our town, take back our city, take back our county. I'm going to launch into Q&A in just a second. However, leadership could come forward a little bit. And I'm delivering a copy of the Take Back packet to your leadership. And you guys now have balls in your court. I'm more than happy to help you out, more than happy to work with you. The ball's now in your court to take this to your city, to take this to your county. We'll be supporting you the entire way if you choose to do so. Thank you very much. There's a donation bucket being passed around during Q&A. If you are willing to donate, helps me do what I do. It's really the only source of any kind of income that I have to continue doing this. So if you could, that'd be great. If not, that's absolutely fine. Q&A. This is my favorite part of the presentation, because answer oddball questions all around. Any kind of questions? First in the back.
How are you funded?
Panda is funded through donations from private citizens, exactly like this. We are applying for, this ought to be fun. We're applying to the IRS for 501c4 status. Ha, ha, ha. That ought to be fun.